Is she into you? I don't know. Let's watch it being casually explained.
I know a lot of guys have trouble picking up on the signs of whether or not a girl is into them, so today I want to do a little quiz so you can see if she actually does like you, or even just how good you are at recognizing signals that you might be getting. Let's say you're in a bar and you look across the length of the counter and you see a cute girl who glances at you briefly, does a quick hair flip, and then turns back to her friends. Is she into you?
You know, I've seen around and heard that there's certain body language that girls use to communicate to guys when they're into them. And that playing with their hair, especially if they have long hair, is one of the good signs. But I mean, in a bar where the person is across the room, let's look at the options real quick. Yes, no, and can't tell. You can't really tell from that because she could just be fixing her hair. But hey, it's possible.
Eye contact is obviously a good sign, but you really can't tell from this example. She could just be adjusting her hair, and maybe she was looking at someone behind you. So let's say you're at the office and your cute coworker is waiting behind you to make some copies of whatever people make copies of, and she says, "Wow, do you think you could go any slower?" and then playfully punches your arm. Is she into you?
This one is a bit tougher than the last one because it's a bit more ambiguous. Since it's in a workspace and you obviously know each other, you work together, and she's directly being playful. So this one is a bit more ambiguous and therefore it's harder to tell. So I guess the option to go with was can't tell. It's a bit tougher to decipher than the last one because in the last example, you don't know the person and they don't know you. So it's a bit tougher to decipher than this last one where she knows you and she has a bit more information on you and can decide whether or not she is interested in you. And so she can be a bit more playful to display that interest, but then it could just generally be playfulness just because you know each other and there's that initial boundary has been broken. So it's a bit more ambiguous than the last one.
Again, you can't really tell from this example either. She might like you, but she might just be giggling and punching your arm as a sarcastic middle school throwback. So really no way to tell. Okay, so let's say you're at the gym on the elliptical for some reason and Cutie McBooty comes in and gets on the exercise bike in front of you. And then after 5 minutes she looks back and says, "Wow, I'm so sweaty already. If only there were a way to get the same workout at home riding something else." And then gives you a wink. She into you?
These keep getting tougher and tougher as they go. There's a video from a few days ago where a girl was working out in a gym. She was working out in front of a mirror and then through that mirror she saw someone look at her and she was like, "Hey, keep it pushing, stop staring at me, you pervert." And then she posted it on TikTok. Seeing this on social media and how easily your actions could be misinterpreted. I mean, this guy probably wasn't even looking at her. Maybe it was just a quick glance and that was it. But you could see in the video the way she just took it home and ran with it. So it's a bit harder to tell these days. But going back to this example, it seems kind of like she's making like a sexual innuendo. So it is possible, but but yeah, it goes back to you can't tell, especially these days in 2022 where, you know, you could easily be bashed on the internet and you could be labeled as a predator or a pedophile. So can't really tell these days.
Yeah, I still can't tell with that one. Exercise equipment is pretty expensive, and maybe she lives in a small apartment and just doesn't have space. So maybe you find a good deal on rowing machines somewhere, you can show her the flyer. Okay, so let's say you meet up with a friend that you've had coffee and drinks with a couple times, and she says, "I had a lot of fun on the last few dates we went on." That's a good sign because she thought those hangouts were actually dates. So suppose then she says, "How'd you like to come back to my place and watch Netflix tonight?" That's another good sign. It's usually a pretty good indicator when a girl invites you to do something, especially at her place. So then let's say later at her house you guys are watching Wall-E or something like that and she says, "I'm getting pretty bored, why don't you come upstairs with me?" That's another great sign. She probably has something pretty interesting to do upstairs if it's better than watching Wall-E. So then after you go up there, all of a sudden she pushes you onto her bed, dims the lights, rips off her clothes, and you start having sex. Is she into you? Yeah, again, you really can't be too sure. It's pretty dark in the room, so she can't really see you properly. Maybe she's from Canada and was just being polite. Anyway, best bet is to just keep your wits about you and continue to look for signs.
I should have seen it coming. Comment hard to get if you're still here. Or like your thoughts on the video, whether you agree or disagree. I don't know. The mic is moving.